So good day everyone. I am Renalyn Graces Macheca. So for today I will going to discuss about the curriculum evaluation through learning assessment. So first is let me first discuss the Philippine qualification framework. Um, the reference system of national standards of what qualifications one has earned by education and training in the Philippines. So it specifies what an individual has learned in and out of formal schooling or the lifelong learning based on qualifications, levels, and degree of competencies on knowledge, skills, applications, values, and degree of independence. So, a person is deemed qualified if he or she achieved the specific learning outcomes necessary for the academic, work, and community requirements for which an official qualification recognition shall be conferred according to Republic Act number 10968 series of 2018. Here are the Philippine qualification framework. So as you can see that there are 8 levels, and then the basic education, which is the grade 12, and the technical education and skills development, and then the higher education. So, when we say grade 12, it is the foundation of all the mao na siya ang foundation sa atong pag-eskwela, di ba? So, we cannot proceed sa college kung wala ta niagi og elementary and high school. Dili ta ka pa-enroll sa TESDA para makakuha og NC1 kung wala ta ni eskwela og high school. So, mao na siya ang level 1. So, ang ang sunod is the technical education and skills development or TESDA. So, pag magkuha kag NC1, mo na siya ang gikon sa level 1, then NC2 is level 2, NC3 is level 3, and then NC4 is level 4, and then diploma or is level 5. So, and then ang level 6 is the baccalaureate. So, when we say baccalaureate, is mo na siya ang bachelor's degree. And then, ang level 7 is the post-baccalaureate. Ang post-baccalaureate is maupod na siya ang master's degree. And then, ang doctoral and post-doctoral is level 8. Maupod na siya ang kanang PhD or the doctorate courses. So, there are 3 competencies or 3 domains. The competencies are clustered into 3 domains, which are first is the knowledge, skills, and the values. Then second is applications, and then third is the degree of independence in responsibility. So let us first discuss the levels and competency descriptors required for each level for basic and higher education levels. So in domain 1, which is the skill of knowledge, skills, values, na siya ang kanisya is na siya yung table na nagpakita sa mga descriptors sa domain sa PQF1 and PQF6, PQF7 until PQF8. So sa domain 1, which is the knowledge, skills, and values. So, ang PQF1, which is the grade 12 or the basic education, is nagpossess siya of functional knowledge across range of learning areas and technical skills in chosen career tracks with advanced competencies in communication, scientific, critical, and creative thinking, and the use of technology. So, dira is kailangan pa nato functional knowledge, kailangan pa nato makakatuon, di ba? And then understanding of right or wrong, and one's history and cultural heritage, deep respect of self and others. So sa PQF6, which is the baccalaureate degree, nagpossess na siya og broad and coherent knowledge in the field of disciplines or profession. So nanatay na kuan na broad and coherent knowledge, di ba? Nanatay na nahibaw-an. So, whereas sa master's degree is nagpossess po siya og broad and deep knowledge in the field or field of discipline or profession. Same lang po sila sa baccalaureate degree o sa master's degree. And then sa doctoral and postdoctoral degree is nag-generate na siya og new knowledge, skills, and skills with established values in the disciplines of or profession. So mas taas na iyang mga learnings, di ba? Kay nakakuha naman siya sa naka-generate na siya og new knowledge, no? And then the next domain, which is the application, is PQF1, which is the grade 12, is naka-apply siya functional knowledge, technical skills, and values in academic and real-life situations. Through sound reasoning rather, informed decision making, and judicious use of resources. Sa baccalaureate degree naman is naka-apply siya knowledge, skills, and values in the professional work. No? So, yan nadala ang iyang nabalaan niya, knowledge, skills, and values na nagikan sa iyang pag-eskwela, madala na siya sa atong mga trabaho. And then, sa master's degree is applied deep knowledge, skills, and values in the professional work and research. So, one is, madala na po nato ang atong knowledge, skills, and values, dili lang sa trabaho, kundi pati po sa atong research. So, sa PQF 8, which is the doctoral and postdoctoral degree, is apply in professional work and research as a leader or initiator, no? So, diri is nagkadako ng atong level, okay? Grabe naman ka wide or deep na ang atong understanding about sa knowledge, skills, and values. So, ma-apply na nato siya in regards sa professional work nato og research, og mahimo na kitang leader or initiator sa atong research. Then, the next domain is the degree of independence. So, in PQF1, it applies skills in varied situations with minimal supervisions. No? So, as a high school student or elementary student, kailangan pa nato maka-apply tag skills, pero napagitay mga supervision coming from the teacher or from the elderly. And then, sa PQF 6, which is the baccalaureate degree or the bachelor's degree, is we can work independently, alone, or in teams, no? Makakaya na ta og buhat sa atong work na kitara, or kanang kailangan pa nato collaboration with other teams. So, then the PQF 7 is we can maka-work na siya independently. No, kay wide naman ang iyang mga nahibawan. Then sa PQF 8, which is the katong doctoral na siya nga level, is highly independent in work, initiate and lead and initiate others. So siya na ang mag-lead o siya na ang mag-initiate. So next is, let's move on to the matching the competencies and outcomes with the PQF by doing learning assessment. So, the mastery of the learning outcomes in terms of knowledge, process, understanding, and performance, how understanding performances are measured in formal education, starting with basic education. So, the measurement is often referred to as assessment. So, in 2012, the DepEd issued DepEd Order number 73, which is the K-12 grading system. So, ginatawag ni siya og KPAP grading system. So, what does KPAP stands for? So, ang K is for knowledge, P is for processes, and U is for the understanding, and then another P is for the performance or the product. So, let's move on to the table na magpakita sa learning level, then the description of learning outcomes, and then the sample grade questions. So, sa level 1, which is the knowledge, makakuha siya factual knowledge, conceptual knowledge, procedural knowledge, and then the metacognition. So, ang iyang sample guide question is, what do you want your students to know in terms of facts, concepts, procedures, and multiple thinking? So, like for example, sa facts, sa factual knowledge, iyang gipa-identify ang parts of the body. So, ang sa conceptual knowledge, iyang gipa-describe kung ang sky ba is blue, na is the sky blue. And then sa procedural knowledge or iyang gikuan ang step to how to dissect a frog. And then sa metacognition is iyang gipa-describe ang typhoon. And then sa level 2, which is the process or the processes, it is a skills that the students use based on the facts and information for making meaning and understanding. So, the sample guide question in here is, what do you want your students to do, or with what they know? So, like for example, the students need to dissect a frog and then identify the different major body parts. So, na-apply na nila ang kung ano, ang processes, nakuha na nila ang skills na the students use based on the facts and information for making meaning and understanding. And then so level 3 is the understanding. So it making the meaning to big ideas and concepts. So ang sample guide questions is, what do you want students to understand? So example, how do the elements of weather interact to produce climate change? No? So nakakuha na siya og meaning, and then nakakuha na po siya og ideas and concepts. So another learning level, which is the level 4, is the product or the performance. So pag yun ang product, it is the materials. Then ang performance is through oral, visual, or written. So or projects, no? Pwede siya matawag product, performance, or projects, which is ang projects is nagkuha siya og evidences of learning. So ang iyang sample guide questions is, does your portfolio display evidence to show learning outcomes achieved? And then, can you create one act play to show the principles of dramatization? Or what research paper can undergo to report on the conservatives of indigenous plants? Now, so nakuha na niya na, gamit na niya ang product or the performance. Sunod is the assessment tools for each level of learning outcomes. So, the knowledge, process, understanding are the KPU learning outcomes. So, knowledge, process, and understandings are learning outcomes. Students who can show that they have gained knowledge can apply such knowledge and achieve several meanings on the particular knowledge have achieved the learning outcomes. So, there are, so karon is atong i-discuss ang types of tests to measure knowledge, process, and understanding. So, first is ang objective test. So, this test that require only one and one correct answer. It is difficult to construct but easy to check. So there are many types of objective tests. No? So first is the paper and pencil test, or pencil and paper test. So as the name suggests, the test is written on paper and requires a simple to write. So sa paper and pencil test is na po tayo ginatawag nga simple recall. So, this is the common tool to measure knowledge. First is the fill in the blanks. So, di ba? Magamit mangitag pencil and paper para makasagot sa fill in the blanks. And then, enumeration, identification, and simple recall. So, pag simple recall is ka na mga review, no? Kung what are the discussion last meeting. And then, next is the alternative response test. So, this is the type of paper and pencil test where two options or choices are provided. So these are the questions that answerable by yes or no, or true or false, no? So ang iyang mga choices is true or false, or yes or no. And then the multiple choice test. So we all know naman kung unsa ang multiple choice test, di ba? So this is the type of identified as the most versatile test type because it can measure a variety of learning outcomes. It consists of a problem and a list of suggested solutions. So the incompetent statement or direct question is called STEM. So sa multiple choice, ang iyang question or the incomplete statement ay ginatawag na STEM, no? And then the list of suggested solutions in words, numbers, symbols, or phrases are called alternatives, options, or choices. So mo to siya ang katong letters from katong A, B, C, D na mga options or numbers or symbols. Then there should be 3 to 5 options in each item. So, na dapat 3 to 5 ang options in every question or in every item. So, the correct alternative is called the answer. while the remaining options or choices are called distractors, or decoys. So, ingon pa, the distractors or the distractors is effective kung mas daghan ang nag-answer ana nila nga mga options, no, sa ingon ni Sir Kirsten. And then some multiple choice items are presented with a stimulus materials. And then sa kuan is na siya correct answer type, no. Other alternatives are clearly wrong and only one is the correct answer. So this can be constructed in either direct question or completion of sentence. So examples, the direct question is, what is not a member of ASEAN 2015 economic community? So the options there are A, Vietnam, B, Korea, C, Malaysia, or D, Philippines. So naa siya one answer, then ang uban is wrong answer, no? Kaya iyang ipangita diri is not a member of ASEAN 2015 sa direct question, no? Same with incomplete sentence. So ang diri is ang nakalahian lang nila is ang pag create sa question. So ang diri is a country in Southeast Asia which is not a member of the ASEAN 2015 economic community is A, Vietnam, B, Korea, C, Malaysia, D, Philippines. So medyo mas sayon himo ng incomplete sentence kay mag-base lang ta sa libro, di ba? Kanang sa definition, tapos atong ipa-answer kung unsa na kung unsay answer ana nga pangutana. And then the best answer type. All the alternatives are correct but only one is the best. So just like sa mga board exam question or the board exam answers, di ba? Ingon pa, all of the answers in the board exams are correct, but there is one best answer in it, no? So para sa puna siya sa kuan nga na a direct question. So what do for example, what do progressive educators consider as the most important factor in the teaching learning process? So options are A, teacher, B, learner, C, books, D, principals. So di ba? It is one of the most kani sila nga tanan options is most important factor jud siya in the teaching learning process, pero naa siya isa ka best answer, no? So dapat makita nato kung unsa jud ang best answer. So sa incomplete sentence naman is, according to progressive educators, the most important factor in the teaching learning process is same option, which is the teacher for A, B is for learners, C is books, and then D is for principals. So next is the matching type test. It is useful in measuring factual information as well as relationships between two things, ideas, and then the concepts. It reduces guessing to the minimum as compared to alternative response tests. So we already know what are the kung saan paghimo sa matching type test, di ba? So there are two columns in matching type test, which is the column A is mo to siya ang mga definitions or mo to siya ang mga ideas or concept or factual information. And then sa B or sa column B is mo to siya ang mga answers, no? So let's proceed out sa matching type test, or na siya duha ka types, which is first is the perfect matching type and the imperfect matching type. So let us first discuss the perfect matching type. So the number of perfect matching type is the number of premises in column A is less than the number of responses in column B. So the response can only be used once. So like for example, no? So, ang diri is, in column A are popular descriptions of presidents during their term in office. So, match then with the names of Philippine presidents in column B. So, ang iyang column A is what we call the premise, no? So, ang iyang kuan is tulo lang ka items. Whereas, ang iyang responses or the column B is upat ang options niya. So, mo na siya ang gitawag nga perfect matching type. So, sa imperfect matching type is the number of premises in column A is not equal to the number of the responses in column B, or the other way around. So the responses or the premise can be used more than once. Now, for example, in column A are names of well-known curriculum evaluators. Match them with the evaluation models they have been identified within column B. So you can use the letter once or more than once. So sa column A, which is the premise, is 5 items ang iyang premise. Whereas the column B or the responses is na lang siya upat ka options. So these responses can be used more than once. No, pwede siya magamit more than once. So that is the subjective test. So learning outcomes which indicate learners' ability to originate and express ideas is difficult to test through objective type tests. So hence, in subjective type tests, answers through reflections, insights, and opinion can be given through essay. So when we say subjective test is kanang mga essay type na mga quizzes, essay type na assessment. So let's discuss the essay type test. So essay test items allow students freedom of response. Students are free to select, relate, and present ideas in their own words. So, di ba? Ang essay is nag-allow siya freedom para sa mga bata, freedom sa students na maka-answer na mga response, no? So, kanang sa essay type test is kanang makakuan kag mga ideas, new ideas sa kanang mga question kung unsa imong nasabtan ana mga question. So next is the restricted response item. So this is like an expanded form of short answer type objective test. There is a limit in both the content scope and the form of student response. So it is most useful in measuring learning outcomes that require the interpretation and application of data in the specific area. So examples. What are the main body parts of plants? No? So ipa-describe ang each part sa main body parts of plants, no? And then 2. Why is the barometer one of the most useful instruments to forecast the weather? So explain in one paragraph. So and there's a restricted is nadyo siya in kanang expanded form of short answer type test. Kanang naa siya follow up question, diba? So the extended response item is the student is generally free to select any factual information that can help in organizing the response. The content of an extended essay will depend on the analysis, synthesis, evaluation, and other higher order thinking skills of the test takers. So examples, no? Example question is, evaluate the significance of the results of national referendum of Scotland to the global peace conditions. So ang students is na siya freedom to answer that question. Then ang kanang students is nag-base siya sa paper or sa article nga iyang nabasa about sa referendum of Scotland on the to the global peace condition. And then 2 is, what can you say about NATO's position on the IS? And then 3 is, comment on the term new normal that refers to the environmental condition and climate change. And then next is the types of essay that measure complex learning outcomes. So, type of essay test items, di ba, matong restricted response essay items and then extended response essay items. So, there are examples of complex learning outcomes that can be measured para sa mga that can be measured sa katong type of essay item test. So, ang restricted response essay items is ang iyang ability is to explain cause and effects relationships, describe applications of principles, formulate valid conclusion, enumerate and then explain methods and procedures. Then extended response essay items is ang ability niya is to organize ideas, integrate learning, and design an experiment and then evaluate the worth of ideas. So mo na siya ang types of essay that measure complex learning outcomes. So, the assessment tools to measure authentic learning performance and products or KPAP is so na siya mga assessment tools no para ma-measure na to ang authentic learning performance and the products. So, level 4, di ba? Ang atong una na discuss is from level 1 to 3. So, current is we will going to proceed to level 4. So, the level 4 of the learning outcomes in KPAP can be assessed through performance or product. So, these learning outcomes can be best done through the use of authentic evaluation. So, di ba? Sa performance is like we were going to kanang mag-perform ta or magkwantag role playing, mga dance performance task, di ba? So, ang para ma-assess nato ang kana na mga learning outcomes is we were going to gamit ta og first is checklist, no? So, it is a tool that consists of a list of qualities that are expected to be observed as present or absent. So, the present is to be marked check and the absent is to be marked X, no? So, kaibaw naman ta na checklist is more tong mag-answer not sure answerable by yes or no, and then we're just going to put yes check sa yes kung answerable kung yes ang answer, then no kung then X kung no ang answer. So, next assessment tools is the rating scale. So, it is a tool that uses in a number line as a basis to estimate the numerical value of a performance or a product. So, the value is easier to score if the points are in whole number. So, diba? So, the most popular rating scale is called Likert scale. So, na example dire, which is the rating scale for science project. So, ang instruction niya is on a scale of 1 to 10, with 1 as the lowest and 10 as the highest score. Rate the projects on the following elements. Then, circle the choice of your answer. So, ano to siya, no? Nalay mga itong have clear purposes, then imo na din siya encirclean kung kana bang ilang performance is na by clearing of purposes, so imo encirclean. Then there are relevant to environmental problem, no? So man siya ang kanang rating scale. Sunod is rubrics for portfolio. So, a portfolio is a compilation of the experiences as authentic learning outcomes, presented with evidence and reflections. So, to assess the total learning experiences as presented in a holistic package, an assessment tool called a rubric is utilized. So, diba? Like sa atong para sa atong mga performance or mga conis ginapa-provide ta og rubrics kay para dito ta mag-base sa atong mga kanang ngadto ta mag-base matulog ta i-base ang atong performance kung unsa nga like for example kung unsa lang dapat nato nga buhaton para sa atong performance. So ano siya ang example sa rubrics for portfolio. So, then let's proceed to the levels of assessment for the levels of learning outcomes. So, level of assessment describes levels of the learning outcomes, which are first is the knowledge, then second is the process or skills, third is understanding, fourth is products or the performance. So, the levels of learning outcomes are also used to describe the levels of assessment. through the DepEd Order 73 series of 2012, levels of learning outcomes are also the levels of assessment. So in this table is makita nato ang levels of learning outcomes or the assessment from level 1 to 3. So what to assess or what to test, then type of assessment, and then the percentage value in assessment. So levels of learning outcomes or assessment, level 1, which is the knowledge, what kind of test or unsa ato i-assess, no? It can be question na nag-start sa W, WHO, W, which are the who, what, when, how, and then why, diba? And then what kind of assessment? So what type of assessment ang atong gamiton? So it either be a pencil and paper or a non-paper and pencil. Then the percentage value in assessment is 15%. So level 2, which is the process skills, it constructed meaning. What to test is constructed meaning from knowledge. So the type of assessment that we are going to use is the paper and pencil, or pencil and paper, and the non-paper and pencil. Then ang iyang percentage value in assessment is 25%. And then level 3, which is the understanding. So what to test or assess? First is explanations, no? Katong essay, diba? Explanations, interpretations, applications, empathy, perspective and self-knowledge, big ideas, principles, and generalization. So type of assessment, it is a pencil and paper test type of assessment. Then ang iyang percentage value in assessment is 30%. Now, let's proceed to placing value to assessment results from KPAP. So, according from the DepEd Order 73 series of 2012 to written work performance task quarterly exams, or the WWPT QA from the DepEd Order 8 series of 2015. So, mao na siya ang components of summative assessment. So, ang components niya is mo tong written work, tong performance task, then quarterly exams or assessment. So, first let us first discuss, or let us first tan-on sa nato ang sa written work, no? So, ang purpose sa written work is to assess learners' understanding of concepts and applications of skills in written form, di ba? And then prepare learners for quarterly assessment. So, nga na to sa mates kung naba sila nasabtan sa atong mga discussion kung mag-assessment ta pinaagi sa written work. So, kano sa nato siya ihatag or when given. So, at the end of the topic or at the end of the unit. And then next is the performance task. So, ang iyang purpose is it involves student in the learning process individually or in collaboration with teammates over a period of time. And then it gives students opportunities to demonstrate and integrate their knowledge, understanding, and skills about topics or lesson learned in a specific real-life situation by performing and or producing evidence of their learning. And then third is give students the freedom to express their learning in appropriate and diverse ways. And then last is encourage student inquiry, integration of knowledge, understanding, and skills in various contexts beyond the assessment period. So, kanus man to siya ihatag. So, at the end of the focusing on a topic or the skill and lesson. And then several times during the quarter. So, next component is the quarterly exam or assessment. So the purpose of it is to synthesize all the learning skills, concepts, and values learned in an entire quarter. So kanus ana to siya ihatag once at the end of the quarter. So mao na siya ang gitawag nga quarterly exam or the periodic exam. So let's now move on sa grades at the end of the school year and how these are computed. So, first is the kindergarten. So, in kindergarten, nagayos lang og checklist, anecdotal records, and portfolios are used instead of numerical grades, which are based on kindergarten curriculum guide, no? So, lahi ang sa kindergarten kay nagagamit lang og checklist, anecdotal records og mga portfolios. Whereas sa grade 1 to grade 10, which is the junior high, is the average of the quarter grades produced by the end of the year grade, and then the general average is computed by dividing the sum of all final grades by the total numbers of learning areas. So, each learning area has equal weight. So, dire is mag-base ta sa components, which are the katong written work, performance task, then quarterly assessment. No? So, naman dyan na ilaylay nga mga subjects. So, first is mag-concept ta sa languages, AP and ASP. So, ang iyang written work, magkuha lang siya og 30%. Then, ang performance task is 50%. And then, sa quarterly assessment is 20%. And then, sa science and math, ang written work is 40%. Performance task is 40%. And then, ang quarterly assessment is 20%. And then, sa MAPE or EPP and PLE, is ang written work is 20%. Performance task, medyo dako-dako, which is 60% kay most of the time, ang MAPE and EPP o TLE is more on performance task. So, mas dako-dako jud ang rating or ang grade sa performance task. So, ang quarterly assessment kay 20%. So, how about sa grade 11 and grade 12 or the senior high? So, ang ila is the average of the quarterly grade produces from the semester grade. So, the general average is computed by dividing the sum of all semestral final grades by the total number of learning areas. So, di ba, ang sa senior high school is napo siya semestral grade, no? Semester grade. So, ang siya first sem and then second sem. So, the senior high school grading components, no? So, components, motong written work, performance task, then quarterly assessment. So, ang core subject niya is nagkuha lang siya 25%, 50%, then 25%. So, sa academic track, which is the katong STEM, katong mga STEM, UMS, GAS, ABM, and other subjects na academic track is ang grading system nila or ang grade sa mga subject is sa written work is 25%, sa performance task is 45%, and then the quarterly assessment is 30%. Then, when it comes to work immersion or research or kanang sa pag-OJT na sa mga grade 12 students, no, ang ilang written work is 35%, performance task is 40%, then the quarterly assessment is 25%. And there's another strand, which is the technical, vocational, TVL, sports and arts, designs, kanang mga more on skills na dili na academic track. Ang ang all other subjects ni ang grade sa written work is 20%, performance task is 60%, then quarterly assessment is 20%, and then sa work immersion or research, written work is 20%, 60% sa performance task, then quarterly assessment is 20%. So now, let us proceed to reporting summative grades by quarterly or semester or end of the year. So, interpretation of the numerical values for all subject areas is based on the minimum initial grade of 60, transmuted into an equivalent of 75 in the report card. The numerical grades are described in the different levels of proficiency in the different competencies set in the subject areas. So, na siya yung level of proficiency descriptors and then the grading scale based on transmuted values. So, if you are below up to 74%, matawag ang imong proficiency descriptors is beginning pa. And then, sa 75% to 79% is developing, 80% and 84% is approaching proficiency, and then 85% or 89% is proficient, and then 90% and above is mga tong ginatawag nga advanced. So, this will be all. I hope you learned something from my discussion about the about the curriculum evaluation through learning assessment. That's all. Thank you.